Call the joint City and Minnehaha County meeting to order, and for the city side, we'll have the roll taken, please.
Council members Anderson,
Here.
Benega,
Here.
Brown,
Here.
Costello,
Here.
Jameson,
Here.
Knutson, here, Litz,
Here.
Staggers.
Present.
Quorum present from city.
We'll call the Minnehaha County Commission to order, and all are present, Mr. Mayor.
I'd ask everyone to please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, with that, we have one item, and that's item number 1.
Safe Home Pilot Project Report.
Is Hugh, you going to kick that off? Or Stacy?
We were going to have the video first.
I don't know.
Yeah, I'd like to ask Stacy to come forward with the video.
Hi, Stacy Teason, Homeless Coordinator for the Homeless Advisory Board. And we just wanted to give everyone the opportunity to watch the video that was released on Friday. And it's about 6.5 minutes long. It focuses on what it looks like here in Sioux Falls to be homeless. The sound might not be that great because of the way the system is set up, but hopefully you'll be able to get enough out of it to really understand what some people are going through. Thank you.
A lot of times I just walk and walk and walk and walk all day long. Look everywhere, you know, and when night came, a lot of times I'd go back to the library and sit until they were closed. Then I'd take off and go find some place to sleep. People don't know the places that you can sleep at. There are so many places. I was taught you don't sleep in that stuff. It was home to me.
We were split up for almost like 2 years waiting for our house because the places were too small for the size of our family.
Some security station will tell because you don't know who's living next door.
We were separated because my husband wasn't allowed to be there with us. He had to be in the men's shelter, and I was in the women's shelter with the children. We went to move in at the Union Gospel Mission right after he got out of the NICU, and it didn't work very well there. It was
A lot of times I just walk and walk and walk and walk all day long, you know, and look in garbage cans and look everywhere, you know, and when night came, a lot of times I'd go back to the library and sit until they were closed. Then I'd take off and
I'm Wendy Hughes. I'd just like to say that apparently there's a problem with the sound, and we would really like you all to be able to hear it in its entirety rather than just bits and pieces. So since we can't make this work, I'd like to suggest maybe you could view it on the city channel. We also have a copy that you could borrow to use at another location. If all else fails, you can find it on YouTube. So we would just like everybody to be able to see it in its entirety.
Modern technology. Good afternoon, council members, commissioners, mayor, commission chair. I'm excited to be before you today to bring to you the report that we've developed for the Safe Home program. And the Safe Home program, as you remember, is the joint, the pilot project that the county set up to provide services to the people that are the most chronically homeless in the community and who also struggle with chemical dependency. And just to give you a bit of the history of how we got into this program, homelessness has been something that we really dealt with going back to the beginnings of the state back in 1889. For many, many years, we had a county poor farm, and those programs got phased out, and by the mid-'70s, and part of the reason for that is there really wasn't a need in society. And I know at the time that we auctioned off those buildings from the county perspective, the thought was that we would never need those kinds of services again, and that was in the mid-'80s, and then by the late '80s, we were coming together as a community to develop the St. Francis House, and we've had the development of the Dakota House program, which is a county program for families, and the development of the Heartland House, which is a program for families at Interlake. So the nature of what we're doing has changed dramatically over the last 25 years. 3 years ago, we faced a crisis in the community. We had the program for 2 or 3 years that had ran at the Salvation Army, which was an emergency kind of overflow program for people who couldn't get into other shelters. And when we were no longer able to have that program in the community, we struggled to provide shelter to people who couldn't get into the shelters and who still needed a place to go when it was 20 and 30 below zero. Back in 2006, the county commissioners agreed to back in 2007, the county commissioners agreed to fund on a pilot basis a program that the county would run called Safe Home. And the purpose of that program was to be a pilot. It's kind of a Band-Aid for what we're doing in the community until we were able to jointly, through the efforts of both the city and the county, develop a more permanent response to serving the needs of the population that we're serving in the program. We're here tonight to tell you some stories of success. We're feeling very positive about the efforts we've made. We're very impressed with the work that's been done. I am by the work that's been done by the workers who are working in the program and also by the people who are participants in the program. We've had a number of people that have gotten into treatment or and continue to be sober or are looking at getting into treatment. That was something that we hoped for. But the premise of Housing First, which is how we run the program, is that we first provide the housing, then we began looking at other supportive services and encourage people to look at the kinds of opportunities that might be there, specifically with the people that we're serving with the chemical dependency. And the report that you'll hear and see tonight is one of success, and it's been one that has been much more successful and much more quickly successful than we had expected. And Carrie Benz will make that presentation. And then the third thing is that as we go forward, and part of the reason we're coming to you today is that we really need to come together, city and county, to look at where we're going with this program and what kind of efforts and funds we're going to put into making this program become a reality. When I look at what we're doing, and this is through the joint efforts of the city and the county through the Homeless Advisory Board, we're looking at a number of different issues related to homelessness. And sometimes when I'm out in the community, people have the idea that the projects that we call Safe Home is the beginning and the end of what we're doing. And it's really just the beginning, and it's a small piece of the beginning. The real challenge that we're faced with as we go into the future is developing enough affordable housing for the poorest people, and this is for the people that are at the lowest end of the economic ladder in the community. We have some great needs as we go forward for housing for people in that situation. So we've got bigger challenges ahead of us than this program. We see this as just a stepping stone to some of the things that we need to have. I would also note that we are on the week of, this is homelessness in our community, homeless awareness, Hunger and Homelessness Awareness Week. And I believe Melanie, a little later, will have some updates on the programs that we've got available in the community. But at this point, I'd like to have Carrie Benz come up and introduce the program and the participants and give you a rundown on what we feel we've accomplished in a very quick period of time.
Good afternoon. It's a pleasure to be here and to be able to share with you the findings that we've had from our reports and the numbers that we've gathered over the last 9 months for Project Safe Home. I'm the Assistant Director for Minnehaha County Human Services, and I've had the pleasure of being one of the pieces of the puzzle that helped put this together. However, I'm not the only piece and by far the largest piece. We have 20 participants in our program, and we also have 2 case managers that have provided the intensive case management for this program. And I'd like to introduce them. It's Randy Dauberpool and Lori Dearborn. And they've done an outstanding job, and I think with the numbers that you'll see and the reports that you'll have today from some of the people that are involved in the program who have accompanied us today, we're very proud of them, and we're very proud that they're here. As you've probably been handed this handout, it's for the slide presentation. Project Safe Home is a housing first program that offers intensive case management services to 20 individuals, both male and female, who are chronically homeless with severe alcohol addictions.
The Housing First program and strategy has been one that engages chronically homeless people that have had multiple barriers to get into housing, and to also provide and promote that longevity of as far as staying in housing versus being on the street, sleeping from place to place, basically doing the sofa surfing concept. In 2005, the Department of Human Services focused on 11 individuals and followed them for about a year. And those individuals were also chronically homeless and had alcohol addictions as well. The compiled data revealed that in a 12-month period of time, those 11 individuals utilized over $338,000 of services time, primarily focusing on detox, jail, the hospitals, a lot of the crisis-type services within our community. The project Safe Home, the goal that we identified is to provide 20 individuals with housing, intensive case management, and the opportunity to utilize community resources on a regular basis rather than the emergency services. In doing so, the community would be better investing their money spent by providing the individuals with resources and opportunities that they had never had before. And that's primarily focusing on some medical care. The cost for the care for those individuals in those emergency services became quite astronomical. The participants in our program, we currently have 15% females, 85% are males. They all range between the ages of 30 and 60 years of age. 85% are Native American, and 15% are Caucasian. 100% of our folks have been chronically homeless for a minimum of 8 years, and 100% of them have a severe addiction to alcohol and use and abuse every day. Some facts that we wanted to share. The 20 individuals that are involved in Safe Home have been identified in a previous study, as noted earlier in the 2005 study. They were the top users of our publicly funded crisis services. However, with the Safe Home program, we're proud to say that those details are changing. Safe Home has had a remarkable 85% retention rate, meaning that 85% of our participants have been with us the full 9 months. We have had 3 participants who have decided to leave the program for one reason or another. One left the state, one had a family intervention, and one decided to pursue other housing. And so, other than that, with those 3, as they left the program, we filled those same 3 spots with new individuals. And so we've consistently had 20. You'll notice in the graph here, the 2 columns that I'd like to focus primarily on are the 2 columns that point out the months, January through April 2008. We started really focusing on reporting on those numbers, looking at those totals, especially the hospital. Between January and April of 2008, we had over $109,000 that we spent in hospital costs. After we had been involved in the program in May through September 2008, noting that we've divided those between the winter months and the summer months, and also the second group is 5 months versus 4 months. If you compare the costs that were from between January and April to the May through September numbers, our hospital costs alone have dropped to about $25,000. So what an astronomical drop in those costs by being able to provide housing, intensive case management, and providing that access to the services that those individuals needed. When we figured the costs, we took those numbers that were in that previous graph and basically projected out what it would cost for us to run that program for 12 months. When we calculated that, it came out to the $265,818.66. And in that number, which we'll cover a little bit later here, we also, in that number is not included the cost that the county incurred to provide housing and the medical services for those folks. The basic program expenses we demonstrated in this pie chart, the cost of the utilities. We do have 5 of the individuals that are currently living at a building on North Minnesota. The remainder are either in apartments or in hotels within the community. And so this cost here of the utilities, the maintenance supplies, and the maintenance staff are primarily focused on that of the building on North Minnesota. But that at least demonstrates to you the cost. Obviously, the largest part of that pie is going to be the program staff. And as I previously noted to the county commissioners, you pay for what you get. And I have to say, we invested well in the staff that we have. They've done a tremendous job for us in the program in Safe Home. Again, then, for the expenses formula, we took that and we did the very same thing as previously in figuring out the cost, what it would be for a year, and that's the total we came up with is the $131,999.49. And then you look at the difference in cost, and I don't know that all of us were quite prepared to see the difference in cost to be quite this great. When we looked at the cost and we did the tallies, it is pretty amazing that in order to be able to provide for those folks their housing, the intensive case management, and the services that they needed for both medical, dental, vision, etc. care, to be able to provide all of that and still save that amount of money is pretty amazing. We did the cost comparison formula, and by taking the $338,585 that was spent in the 12 months in 2005, we calculated that out by the 11 individuals and multiplied it so that it would be equal to the cost of what it would be for the Safe Home project. And if we would have continued at the rate that we were in 2005, the cost was $615,609. And it was noted to us in the commissioners meeting that, those are costs, and that was the cost it would have been in 2005. That's not looking at the increase in cost to the hospitals of what it would be now and the inflation costs. So that number is actually probably lower than what it should be. Saving money while improving lives. When we were calculating the numbers in the report, we compared the projected cost for Safe Home as well as if we had continued down the same route in 2005. And there's the total savings of that program. When you try to compare apples to apples, that's what we came up with, is the $217,790. And again, what an amazing number for when you think we had, that was 11 individuals, and we have 20. The facts to note, the figure $217,790.85 does not include the savings in the shelter expenses nor the savings of the entire legal system of Minnehaha County and to the city. When you think of the time spent and the number of arrests and those type of things that was involved previously versus where we're at now. And then, as I noted earlier, the number does not include the cost for the Safe Home individuals as far as the cost for housing, dental care, medications, birth certificates, photo IDs, the list goes on there. But in the last 9 months, the county had spent $68,363.90. That may sound like a large sum of money until you look at the last slide that identifies when you still take that away from the $217,790, we're still looking at nearly $150,000 that we've saved. And I think it's important to note that when you look at that number again, it doesn't include the cost differences between 2005 versus 2008. And I think it's also important to note that with that $150,000 savings, we were able to house those folks. They got medical care, they got dental care, they have classes. They're living a far better life now than they were 9 months ago. I think just that in and of itself is an achievement. I think Project Safe Home has made a number of accomplishments, but I think that one's probably the biggest that stands out for all of us. I think in closing, kind of the thoughts to consider, I want to be able to save enough time. We have 4 gentlemen that were brave enough to come along today. The thoughts that I would like to leave you with to consider is developing a building facility that could house all of the participants in the program. It would be expected that there would be a significant cost reduction in housing. Obviously, our costs fluctuate a great deal. We have some in apartments, some in hotels, some at our building on North Minnesota. That all plays a component and a factor. when you look at the costs. And also, when participants are provided the opportunity to reside close to one another, the opportunity to create that sense of community is there. And I think they learn a great deal from one another, how to support each other, how to be there for each other, how to take care of each other. So on that, I'm going to close, and I'd like to introduce to you, which one wants to go first? They're poking Kim. Kim is one of the participants in the program. We actually have 4 individuals. We have Robert, Kim, Dave, and Marvin. All 4 of them would just like to talk real briefly about their involvement in the program. But I close with thanks.
What's up? Before I got in this program, I was essentially homeless. Other than the mission, I'd sleep under a bridge, in the railroad yard, weather permitting. And I got to, so people come up to me and ask me, Kim, you sleeping out? I says, I don't sleep out, I pass out. That way, I could somehow explain myself, but sleeping out, I mean, you know, this time of year, sleeping under a bridge, covered up in blankets, sleeping bags if you got one, sleeping on cardboard, and do the gamut between eating at the mission, the banquet. It's a nowhere road. You can't escape it. You check into the mission, in which case you're constantly faced with, you know, taking a drink, smoking a joint, whatever it takes, just to get you through it. It changes only but once in a while. Since I've been in this program, and there's a positive effort on my part to abstain, not completely, but I'm not going to lie, I'm an alcoholic. In any event, I've gotten to the point where a starting point. I've been thinking of maybe attending school again. Which could be a possibility. But right now, it's, you know, the day-to-day, I don't have to live daily like I used to. I can watch TV, kick back. Warmth is very important this time of year. And it's going to get worse. So I remember the cold. My caseworker, Lori Dearborn, says I got to start eating more because winter's coming. And I'm sure you all know what that means. You've been out in it. You know what it's all about. And with that, I'll pass it to one of my constituents, Robert Thunderhawk.
We'll just use first names. Robert, why don't you come forward?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I was asked to come here and speak on behalf of the Safe Room program. Before running the Safe Room program, I held plenty of other jobs and ran into a few difficulties in my life where I ended up in detox a few times. And this is how I got addressed into the program. And before the Safe Room program, I was in and out of detox a few times and bouncing from one motel to the other and from one home to the other and still utilizing the alcohol. And when I came to the Safe Room program, I was asked to take part in a rehabilitation program. So I took part in the rehabilitation program, and when I touched base with that, I rebuilt my whole life. And when we talk about ending homelessness as we know it, we got to go back to the root and rehabilitate ourselves so we won't run into these problems. Now, I'm getting my job, one of my jobs back. I'm getting that back now that I've been rehabilitated. And from here, the Safe Room program is working with me very strongly in regaining employment, which is, I think, is very important to to the people who are able-bodied to work. And I am able-bodied. I'm out at 2 o'clock every morning looking for work. And from there, I live my life one day at a time. But, you know, the our life's the way we make it. It's either going to be a demo or construction. You're either going to destroy life by being a demo, construction, you're going to build onto it. And it's up to you. And now, being a Safe Home program, I got a whole new doors are opening up for me for employment, education. People's taking me back before my previous employers. They let me go because of alcohol use, not going to work now. I've been through the treatment program thanks to the Safe Home Project, and I'm getting these jobs back. And my attitude towards the people are a lot better than what it was. And thanks to Laura Dearborn, who helped me get through the treatment program, rehabilitation, and I'm here today, and I'm safe, and I'm without any alcohol. And I'm going to keep it that way and keep building on to my life. And I'd like to thank the people who are responsible for the program. My heart goes out to you, and very warm thank you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I've been on this program for about since I started last year, and I've had my shares of falling down and getting back up again. And before I was on this program, like they were pointing out, I was chronically homeless, not just here, in other cities. I was in Minneapolis, Rapid City, Salt Lake City. You know, wherever I went after my children got taken away from me, it just like basically, I just gave up everything. I mean, I used to farm. I went to school at Brigham Young University. I didn't graduate. I got my hand injured. You know, a lot of things came my way. But after I did a lot of blaming and everything on the system for taking away my kids. And it made me real bitter about a lot of things and toward other people. But, you know, after I came here and started thinking about things and getting older too, I was homeless here for maybe 4 or 5 years from 2000 here. But I've been homeless for almost 20 years, 19 years. But after getting here, and they found me because I was in detox when they came and asked me to be on this program, which I didn't know anything about, but I signed up and said, you know, what could hurt, you know. And a year later, here we are, and out of detox, out of jails. You know, I used to have a lot of anger in me, and it's put me in a lot of positions where a lot of us don't want to be, but especially when I did a lot of blaming on other people and other situations that I've been in. But through this program that we're in now, oh man, it's helped me so much. It's made me have a better outlook on life. Not so judging on people, not, you know, how do you say, I'm not too much for words, kind of a quiet person, but, you know, this program has helped me kind of speak what I want, what I feel sometimes now. I don't have much anger in me anymore. I try to walk away from situations which I know is going to get me in trouble. And in a couple of weeks here, hopefully I'm going to be graduating from Carroll Institute again. I was there from March to April, and I finished that, and I fell off because a lot of things I was going back to my old behaviors, and now I'm back on there again, and there are some issues that I've never really dealt with that happened to me when I was young, and now they confronted me about it, and I'm willing to face those issues. But without this program, I don't think I'd be able to face them. I'd be still out there again, causing trouble. I'll be in jail again, Almost went to prison, and I've never been in prison myself in my whole life. But it was getting to that point where almost to the end of the road for me sometimes, I felt. But through this program and through these people that, put us in this program, cared about us, people that are homeless, has really made a difference in my life. And I know it's been a lot of difference in a lot of my friends here, my brothers and sisters. It's really helped me a lot, especially to not to judge many people anymore. And now I'm getting so I can try to get a relationship with my boys, which I've never had. There were reasons why I'm hopeless, because they got them taken away. And one's in the military, one's up here on the hill, and one's going to be graduating next year. And it makes me feel proud, but not too proud because I haven't been there for a father. But through sobering up and trying, I know I'm going to make it. And with the help of my higher power, I can do anything. Thank you.
Thank you, Marvin. I get real excited with the program that we've got, and I think one of the things that you need to remember is each of these men that came before you tonight, those who came and those who came and spoke, are real warriors. It's hard to come up here, and it's scary. And when you think about when you see somebody panhandling on the street, and you might want to go around the block or not deal with that person because that person kind of scares you, it's even scarier for the people that came up before you tonight to talk to you, sitting up here in a formal setting about their lives and about their stories. And so I'm really appreciative of your willingness to tell your stories. I think one of the things that was really kind of exciting when we started was we tried to identify the people that really were the folks that had the most issues with alcohol and were the most frequent users of the detox program. And as we went out and were talking about the program, I think people were scared of us. And Marvin would remember those days and some of the earlier people, but people would be going, what's the catch? What are you doing? Why are you scheming on us? What's this all about? And we kept just telling people, we're creating a program, and it's one where you've got housing, and we're not telling you, and you need to understand, our program is barrier-free. That means the rules at the house are you can't do anything illegal, and there can't be guests after a certain hour. We have no other rules to keep up, and no violence. One of the struggles that we had during that period of time, which I call the crisis period, when we were dealing with trying to get people in the shelters, if people were drinking, it was real difficult to get them into the shelters. What we found, and what's really been amazing to me as we've created this program and people began to stabilize their lives with housing, a number of people began to seek treatment and to begin to change their lives. And to me, that's an amazing part of what we've done together, and that's with the support of the community, that's with the support of the people that are part of the program and the staff. And I think what we found is, and Marvin kind of put it well when he said we're all brothers and sisters, and I think sometimes we forget that. And when you look at what we're doing, part of our goal was to make sure that we had everybody housed in the community. And the old way that we were doing it, with the study that we did in 2005, we showed that we were spending almost $31,000 on average per year per person, and none of those folks that we were tracking were were housed. So that meant with all that money that we were spending, and when Kerry went through all the numbers, we're spending less money, and that wasn't the intent. Our intent wasn't to save money, it was to house people and to begin to help people build new lives. But we are, with less money, providing services and also have people housed. So to me, it's an amazing story of success. It speaks well of our community and what our community can do. I think the challenge as we go forward is what we're going to do with this information. Now, how are we going to step up to the plate, city and county, to say that we are going to fund a program that's more than a Band-Aid and is a permanent response and facility for the people that, fall into this kind of situation. And now I'd open it up for any questions that any members here might have of us or of the people presenting.
Hugh, I just want to thank those three gentlemen who came up here and testified today. Dave, I know you've got a story to tell, too. When Hugh comes up and tells us the story, he doesn't do as good a job as you guys do. And you've got to tell your story as often as you can so more people understand where you're coming from. You might not believe it, but you're in a unique position to have people relate to your life. And, it needs to be told more often. So I want to thank you again for having the courage to come up here and say what you said tonight.
Other questions?
Dave is sick tonight, so.
Well, I don't have a question. I would like to really say thank you to all of you. I, just wish you the very best, and we just all care a great deal about you. But I would just like to do once again just a public plea for a public-private partnership out there too, and to just to remind our citizens, like I did earlier today, is that if in fact there are any individuals in our community, and I'm sure there are many of them who are tremendously blessed, that they would want to help us in a significant way as we go forward and help us build a home sooner than later for the chronically homeless in our community, is that we welcome their partnership, and we welcome donations of land or buildings or anything else that they are willing to step forward with and help us make this a dream a reality.
Thank you. Vernon?
And I just want to thank, first of all, the county and Hugh for what you've done here, but especially Randy and Lori for the work that they've been on the front lines of this.
You two should step up so that people know who you are.
There's Randy and Lori. In almost 20 years of reporting on government and now being involved in government, I don't know that I've ever seen a program take effect and be so efficient so quickly. And in large part, that's because of Randy and Lori being there on the front line and making it happen. So thank you.
Other questions? Go ahead, Gerald.
When you look at the success that you've had in the short period of time that you've accomplished this, have you had the ability to go look at other programs to see any comparable statistics and what the expectations are in the next step in this process?
The Housing First approach to services is an evolving premise that's really kind of been part of what HUD's been doing over the last 4 or 5 years. The first time I actually saw a program that's comparable to what we're doing was back in 1985, and it was in Boston. And I can remember coming back to the county commissioners and telling them about it, but saying at the same time that's the kind of a program that probably is too far out for what our needs are here. Now our needs have changed dramatically since 1985. The research shows that once and that's consistent across the country, that once people's housing needs are stabilized, you begin to see changes in other parts of their life. But the approach of Housing First isn't one to say that you're going to change everybody or make everybody into the model citizen or anything. It's incremental changes, and some people may choose never to quit their chemical dependency. But everywhere this type of program has been tried, it's had amazing results. And I think where we see a lot of the cost savings are the management that occurs that keeps people from going to the ER rooms, keeps people out of detox, and when they're not in either of those, that means there's no police call, there's no ambulance, there's no fire call, if somebody's fallen on the streets and that kind of thing. So the savings are more in those categories. We're spending more money on the housing side, but where we're saving money is on the incarceration and detox and hospitalization side, and particularly those ER admissions. For a lot of the people we're serving, they were getting their health care needs met in the ER rooms. They weren't getting them by going to the community health center and doing preventative types of things. It was when there was an emergency, they were getting, those needs met. So I think what's a little unique here is we've seen cost savings that we really hadn't anticipated. We really sold this program when we came to the county commissioners with the idea that we don't know that we're going to save any money, but our goal is that we're going to house people. And the way we're doing it right now, we're spending a ton of money, and people are still homeless. And that affects the quality of life for all of us, not just that homeless individual, but for me, when I go downtown with my family and people are sleeping in front of the library because there's no place to go and that kind of thing. So I don't know if that gives you kind of a sense, but in the other communities, some major programs up in the Twin Cities area, out in Seattle, and with everybody that we've talked to or been able to visit, and some of our workers have gone up to visit those programs, they've just come away very impressed with what they're able to do. What we've been doing, and to me what's amazing about what we've been doing, it's really been by the seat of our pants. It's not been a well-funded program. It's not ideal facilities. We're using old buildings. When we go to visit these other programs, they're in state-of-the-art buildings where you've got all kinds of different support systems in place. And what we've got going right now is just a bare-bones, seat-of-the-pants type of program. And that's particularly why I've been so impressed with the kind of results that we've gotten up to this point.
Ann?
Thank you, because this, Mayor, this started, I believe, with the HAB, which is the Homeless Advisory Board. The Homeless Advisory Board. You got it? This started with the HAB, and I want to thank you because this was the Mayor's Homeless Advisory Board that really moved this thing and got it going. And it started out with you, the city, and then the county becoming a partner. And as many of the people here know, we've partnered on many different occasions on many different things. And you have shown us that we look at things that are tax efforts, raise money and create money for a community. And it's important to view this as creating money for a community. And it is in the form of a savings, but that still is money to this community. And we need to look at that because you've mentioned the police and the hospitals and the jail and the detox. And there is a long list. And as our community grows, it will continue to be a cost to this community unless we devise and endorse and actually engage in activities such as you've done with Housing First. So I think we have before us not just a presentation but a challenge. And I'm not sure how Mayor and the City Council and the County Commission would like to continue, but we do need to continue this joint venture. And I thank the Mayor again profoundly for that HAB. We have invested in the personnel at the county level, and they've talked now about structure and a further financial investment from both entities. So I guess at this point in time, we need to decide as a group where we want to go. I would encourage the HAB board to continue and bring proposals that would have specific dollar amounts and specific programs if we have that agreement between the two boards or the two entities, the commission and the council. And so I thank you, and Mayor, you got it started and going in a good way, and I'm hoping that we can continue because as a cost savings, it's important, again, to realize that it is no different than generating a tax through a wheel or a sales tax. This is income to the community. Although it is kind of backwards as a cost savings, it still is income that this community needs to realize and know that's there, and unless we act responsibly, it is wasted.
Thank you. There are counselors and commissioners that are working on a site, and as Dee talked about, if there's somebody who wants to help, come forward. It'd be welcome, so we'll continue to work on that site and see what they come up with. I know they're looking at several locations, so we'll continue. Are there other questions of you? If not, are there others that you want to talk, or where are we at?
Well, maybe just to again explain, this is the first step in addressing the issues that we've got with homelessness in our community. We've seen amazing number increases in the numbers of kids that we've got in the school system, and as we move forward to implement this program. I think the bigger challenges lie ahead of us in terms of how we respond to the housing needs of the very poorest in the community, and we see those growing dramatically. Yes, did you?
Well, and I think it's important that we know whether we have that commitment to go forward from both bodies. We have invested in personnel through the county. Do we have that continued endorsement by the city? And as the county coming here too, county personnel, but we have had that. Do we have that continued, and will we continue to move?
Well, I would just like to speak just for myself and not for any other city councilor. But again, I think that there is a really great interest among the city council team and the mayor about the need for us to make significant progress on building a home for the chronically homeless in our community. I mean, something very, very basic, hopefully to be able to start out with a minimum of 35 units that, again, are incredibly basic, so much so that we really can barely relate to it ourselves, as blessed as we are. But I think it's very important as a community that we realize that progress really will be determined on the basis of the money to get this done. And as the city goes forward with, everyone has limited resources, and I'm again just meaning this as positively as I can say it, is that I am so hopeful that the decision that the majority of the city council and the mayor made recently, as far as just being able to restore the second penny to 2%, can stay in place, because that decision by some of us, even though it took 4 years to do so and was, a divided vote, which is fine. I really respect my colleagues' differences of opinion on this topic, but the buck gets down to money, and I still am very concerned as just one city councilor that when all this is rubbed and scrubbed, that if in fact that money does not stay intact in the budget for our city, that this facility will not get built in the near future, because I believe that infrastructure will always trump other issues, whether that's right, wrong, or otherwise. I believe it will, and I don't mean that comment as a threat, or hardly. I don't ever mean it that way. I just think it's important that we speak English when we are having these discussions among ourselves.
And to answer you directly, I can only speak for myself, but I've spent 3 years working on this, and I am committed to making sure we move this forward. The basic function of government is to take care of those least able to take care of themselves, and this is one of those issues, and I am committed to seeing this through.
Others? John?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I guess we had the opportunity of seeing this information presented at the County Commission earlier, and when you look at the cost-benefit analysis, I think if you look at the numbers, obviously Hugh makes a very compelling argument that there's an opportunity for us to save money. And interestingly enough, there's a factor that was presented here this evening that doesn't have a dollar value attached to it, and that dollar value is the hope that these individuals that have been chronic users of many of our different systems, whether they be county or city, they come forward and you hear them speak of hope. And if you can put a dollar value on that, which unfortunately we can't, but if you can put a dollar value on that hope, along with the cost-benefit analysis, there's an opportunity for this community to take one giant step forward. And it's up to us to decide if we are going to essentially fund this opportunity. And I say opportunity because the proof is in the pudding, and I certainly hope that everybody thinks very hard when you decide whether or not you're going to support it or not. I, for one, intend to support it.
Further statements or questions? Now, do you have anybody else who wants to talk, or does that bring us about the end of the road?
We did ask, this is Hunger and Homelessness Awareness Week, and we have a couple of events we'd like to encourage people to participate in. One is at 6:30 tomorrow night at First Congregational Church, and Dr. McMillan, who's worked extensively within the Native American community in the Twin Cities, will be the presenter at that. And then we have a memorial service for homeless people that will start at St. Francis House at 7 o'clock on Friday night, and will include a walk and a service to honor and remember the people that were homeless in our community and died during the past year, or friends or relatives or workers within that system. And those are important efforts for us, I think, in the community, because so often people overlook or forget that we do have homeless people in the community. And that would be the highlight of those events during Homelessness Awareness Week.
Thank you. Others who wish to address the council?
Madam Chair, Mr. Mayor, as we finish tonight, then, is it our understanding that these individuals with the HAB are to go ahead and engage in negotiations and communications for some type of facility that would be a joint venture between the county and city?
We've been working on that, and we've been working on it for some time and talking about it, but until, you've got 8 council members here that need to have, I think, some numbers put to it to make a decision on the cost. We've talked about that a little bit before. Until you do that, you aren't going to know until you come with some numbers of what we can do. And, there are issues that all the council members are going to have to look at, and then we're going to have a discussion. So I would say if you can, come with some location of facility, come with some numbers, it helps us make a decision as we move forward. And whether you can say yes or no, I mean, that's pretty hard, because you're going to have the discussion among the members, and just like you are with your
exactly.
Well.
And the one thing to remember, though, as you've seen the costs here, they have been county costs. All the staff, all the investment at this point in this county, and it started through, the organization, the Homeless Advisory Board, as you've set it up. And we're coming at this point, and I'm pushing a little bit, as you can tell, because to take another step, we need to have that joint venture to know that it's going to happen.
Well, we put together, I don't know, I think Kenny's on it, and
I understand that.
And we put that together, and I don't know what else to tell you. They're working, as far as I know, and I get reports back that they're working on it. And I haven't seen a number. I know we looked at different sites and that until you come with that. It's hard to make a
No, my question is that you are wanting to be involved in this at a financial level.
Well, we don't know what the financial level is.
Well,
I mean, I can sit here and say I want to do a lot of things until I know the financial level, and I don't know how to move forward until I understand what the cost is going to be, and if we can find a way to fund it. That's going to be all of the individuals that are in the council are going to have to look at this. And so, we have been there, and I don't know with Kenny and Dee, I think you're on that, and I don't know, you got some county commissioner, I think Jeff's on that, and I don't know, Bob's on it, until you guys come back with some information. And I don't know what are the costs that we're looking at right now that are with this group of individuals that volunteered. Go ahead.
Well, Commissioner Hack, I very much understand and respect your question, but I really do totally agree with the mayor's answer to this question. Is that I think I think that the city council, at least they've been very patient with me as far as I've been trying to bring back as good of reports as I can from our site committee. And again, as I said earlier today, I really appreciated the other councilors when they're able to get to those site committee meetings, and Councilor Brown has been able to attend the last 2, and we have our next one on December 3rd. But I mean, I think we're far from having any clue what kind of money we're talking about here, and again, we are looking at some properties, but we haven't
purchased
And we-
anything, or, I mean, it's like, you know, we've asked at our last meeting, at our December 3rd meeting for some staff to come back and just kind of draw us a footprint on a couple parcels of land as far as how much would it take to build just 35 really modest units with some common space. But I mean, you know, we're nowhere. I mean, we're light years yet. I mean, light years isn't right, but I mean, we're quite a ways from ever having an architectural bid. And
when we did that, you know, the one facility we did have in that we looked at that was taken off the board, after a while, we had committed, and you had committed, we had committed some money to look at that facility and to see what it would cost to renovate it into housing. So, you know, I think there's interest on the council side. It's just a matter of what you really look at is what you need. And you know I've been talking to some people. I think there's a couple sites that I think are very interesting at this point to see, you know, if we can pursue or where they're at. And again, I applaud the group that has stepped forward to volunteer to see what they can bring back to all of us as members.
Commissioner Colby wants to say something too, but I guess I would hate like heck to let down individuals that we've just heard from tonight who have turned their lives around. But this is a pilot program. This is a pilot that the county embarked on to bring you realistic operational costs, which you've got. The HAB has worked hard to provide you a business plan, and you've seen that. Each and every one of you have seen that. You've seen estimates for a building costs, and we've given you even dimensions for SROs. I mean, so we're not operating in a vacuum here. We are operating now with pretty realistic operating costs for 20 individuals. You have a business plan somewhere in the bottom of your drawer. And so we do have some numbers. They're not firm numbers, but they are numbers for us to begin to talk about. And I thank Commissioner Hayek for bringing this, you know, to a point where we really need to say we have to fish or cut bait in a fairly orderly manner here.
Then, respectfully, I'd ask that you bring the numbers to us that you expect the cities to have on its share, and then we can talk among ourselves of what we can and what we can't do. So, you know, that just made Bob was next. Then I'll come to you.
Yeah, since I'm going to be leaving here shortly, not tonight, but by the end of next month, I'm at the point of saying, you know, are you going to commit to buy a car, or are you just going to go out and kick the tires? Because if you're going to kick the tires, nothing's going to happen. If you're going to say, we'll buy a car, it doesn't mean that you're going to buy the first thing that comes down the pike. But from my perspective, I'd like to see the city commit to say, yes, we're with you, we're going to do this, but we want to make sure that we do it in an expeditious manner, and we're going to look at the figures. We aren't going to take the first piece of property that comes down the pike. We may not take the first plan for a structure, but we're committed to go with you down the road because the county has already bought into the program. And, you know, it's kind of like the old term, I think it was a Rooseveltian term, kind of a mugwump. You know, we need some commitment sometimes to do things, and fish or cut bait is a nicer way of saying it than my father would have said it when I was growing up.
Well, I tell you what, you know, we're interested, but I'm never going to make a commitment until I see a number. I flat won't do that, and I mean, I'm not going to do that to taxpayers until I know what I can afford. And you can talk about going and buying a car, but there's different models of cars out there. You know, but we're interested in looking at it, and we will. But if you got numbers, I mean, bring the numbers, and I'll look at them if you have them, and I'll talk with the council about it. But I don't know what the numbers are. Who had their hand up? Was it Dean? Come to you. Go ahead. You're next.
Well, I just like to say, county commissioners and others, is that, you know, the last thing I ever mean to do is frustrate any of you on this topic or any other topic. But yes, I'm, you know, very, very familiar with the business plan, the first, you know, plan that the Homeless Advisory Board worked really hard on, and I'm really proud of this program, and I'm particularly proud of the citizens who had the courage to come up and visit with us today and remind us about real life as homeless. I really applaud them. But my goodness, I mean, saying that, I mean, I think we are far from having any real numbers to vote on. I mean, I keep lobbying the guys up here on just the issue, but Ideally, I'm hopeful that this facility can be built. Hopefully, while I'm still on City Council, I have a little bit more time than Commissioner Colby, but not much. And ideally, I would love to see the city be able to build a facility with community support. And I'd love to be able to see the city provide, 30% of the operational costs with of course, a reasonable cap. But my goodness I've been going to lots of meetings, but I haven't come anywhere close to seeing any numbers as far as a facility. And I still believe that the money in the capital improvements pot will go to infrastructure overall if we don't maintain the extra money that we have budgeted. So.
And I like the concept, and I like, the program, and it always gets down to what, Kenny, go ahead.
I got a question for Hugh. Since you've been involved in the site committee and the project, what do we have for a conceptual drawing of a building? Do we have anything? We basically know how many units we want. We know the size of each one of the units. So wouldn't the next step be getting some type of conceptual drawing to show us exactly what, the entire size of the building is going to be, and maybe some quotes on price, because we know the materials we want to use, and things like that. We already have administrative services already figured out. I think this is the next step that we need to be able to look at and decide if we're ready to move into this. Location is another thing. We have 2 or 3 locations that we're looking at. That will either add or, neutralize the cost. But I think the building itself, exactly what we want is the next step here, and we need to see those type of numbers before we can commit. Attending the transit meeting this morning and listening to the state tell us what type of numbers they're going to be able to provide us for infrastructure for 2009 and 10 and on, we definitely need to have some type of numbers to hold on to and take a look at this before we're going to move forward. As a councilman, I am totally behind this project. Yes, I want to move forward, but once again, we have to be responsible to our public, and we need a number. So is that something that we can move forward with? I'm sorry, I haven't been able to make the latest homeless meetings because of my training schedule and my new position, but it's something I've been emailed, and that's what I've been waiting to see next.
We have put together numbers that are in the business plan, and those are based on other facilities that have been created. And as we go forward, those get to be dated in the sense that they're 2 and 3 years out there. If we were to put together a real hands-on, I'm not sure if we could do it through the planning department, through the city, or if we would need to go back to, at one point in time we talked about retaining an architect to look at the building up on Russell Avenue. And I think we need to, if we wanted formal numbers, I think we need to go to that level to come up with a design. I think if we're committed to creating it, then it would make sense to go back to, get those architectural drawings and estimates so that we know what we're dealing with. The estimates we've done have all been based on other facilities and other communities and are at least 2 and 3 years out on when they've been built.
Go ahead, Vernon and Jeff.
City Council, I don't think what the county is asking is sign on the dotted line for the dollars today. It's just, do you embrace the concept? Because if we don't embrace this concept, there's no use in us going forward.
Right.
Well, to answer that, I think that Kenny, they've been moving forward, and I know you've had meetings trying to find a location, because I think that's paramount to what you're trying to do. And then, if we have to look at the cost, I think that's a second function. But to sit here and to tell somebody that I'm going to commit to costs when I don't know what the costs are, I refuse to. I won't do that. But we're still moving forward and talking about where we're at, and if there are, I know there's one location that we seem to like pretty well, and I think there's probably two or three, but to boil those down to the location, I think that's going to be important, and then try to figure out what that is going to cost each party is going to be important as well. Jeff?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Speaking on the site committee, which I am a member of, we really have looked at a number of places, and we've been reluctant to spend any money, so we've only crudely drawn up what a building might fit onto a property, because you know, the idea of getting an architect involved in this preliminary stage, we're not spending any money. However, it has been pretty exciting, and I really feel myself anyway that there is a lot of interest from the City Council on this issue. And I think when we narrow it down a little bit further here, we'll come up with an exciting plan that will appeal to a lot of folks.
I'm on the building committee also, and this is kind of one of those chicken and egg propositions. Okay, what property is out there that is available? Can we buy it as a county? Can it be a joint venture with the county city? Is it something that might be a joint venture between the government and or private enterprise? Is this something that someone might donate? What is the size of the property? Then, if the property has a structure on it, is the structure something that can be utilized from the get-go? Is the structure something that could be remodeled? Is the structure something that has to be torn down? What's the footprint of the property, and what kind of structure can you put on that property? And then you're asking for figures? I mean, we haven't got the piece of property first, and you have to have that available, and you want it in a place where there's a clientele. It wouldn't behoove us to have 20 acres of property down in Lincoln County, 20 miles from the city. So, I mean, the committee is working on this, and you have to do this attack a brick at a time.
I agree with that.
Could I wanted to clarify, since I did ask the question and bring it out, and thank you. I thank you, Mayor, for you are committed. You did the HAB, the Homeless Advisory Board, and Dee and Vernon and other council members. You need to have 5 of your body support the concept. And I don't know that we have that assurance that the concept, we certainly understand the money issue. We deal, as you do, with finances, and we have to look at it and be able to afford it and find the funding. We have in front of us tonight members of a pilot program. This program will not go forward without the funding. We asked the city in a very polite letter if they would assist us with half the funding for the personnel, and we received a no. We went ahead and did the entire funding of the personnel. So at this point in time, we've asked for money where the mouth is and have not seen it. So to continue at this point in time, we want to be your partner. We partner with you on so many different items. I know there are people who feel, oh, we don't have to deal with that. That's a county responsibility. However, we have shown you direct savings to this community, to your departments, to the police, to the hospitals, to different entities within this community. So there is a direct savings. That savings could be used for this project. And that's why it's important to understand that the more your funds go up to serve this population, the cost to the taxpayers will be greater. So my question is, do we have that commitment from the concept from at least 5 of the city council members? And to this point in time, I'm not sure that we know that that is a definite yes, Mayor.
Again, I'll come back to the same thing. You know, when you talk about the staffing down there, you know, that decision was based upon, we've got staffing needs at the city level, and for us to go, and that was a county position. And by the way, that, you know, you found the funds through the health department that you used for that. So that has, you know, taken some from there. But, you know, to ask 5 council members tonight, I mean, I think the concept's right. But again, I'll still come back to the same.
That's all I'm asking, those 5.
I'm not going to ask them to vote when they don't know what they're really going after unless they want to do it.
Annie, I would endorse the concept.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
You know, I guess I'm going to make a comment here. I do serve on the HAB. The pilot program was a brainchild of the HAB. The HAB is our creation, okay? It's a city and county creation. And there are city staff people, county staff people, and a couple of elected officials who serve on that United Way. The church, the faith community is represented, and you've got a strong board. I think we turn this back to the HAB. We have a committee right now of folks who are out looking at a site. They have to come up with a site. They have to bring a recommendation for the site, and that recommendation should come to the HAB. And that should happen very, very soon. Then the HAB goes back to their business plan. They may come to us and say, we need an architect. We were willing to hire an architect, as Hugh said, to look at the Army-Navy building, and we were talking about $2 million to renovate that building. So we've already had some numbers that have been tossed around to us. But I think we turn this back to the HAB and say, we have operational costs now, we have a location that we're going to recommend to you, and we want to hire an architect, and we want to put some numbers together for a simple housing concept. Then we can come to both of these bodies with some real numbers. And that's what I think Commissioner Hayek is asking for us tonight, to say we need to turn it back to that group of folks that we appointed in the first place and that we are paying for jointly a director of the HAB. So that's what I think I would ask you for tonight.
I think that's a great idea. I mean, let them come back and then let the commissioners and let the council then make decision upon the numbers and the information they have, because that's going to be the ultimate decision at the end of the day. But I think that's what the HAB board is doing. I thought with that committee that has been put together to look at a site, and then they were working with the HAB board, I think, to do it. So I'm right on target with that.
Well, just last night, and I realized the City Council has a meeting tonight at 7, so I know we're running out of time. But again, actually, I still feel like that the building a home for the chronically homeless site committee is making very good progress. Our discussions have been very productive, and we clearly are moving, I think, in the right direction. I mean, December 3rd is our next meeting. We've asked for a footprint to be kind of just drawn out on 2 or 3 properties that we're looking at. I mean, sometimes we're looking at properties. I mean, they're not, they're not even always for sale, and we just would like them. And so, I mean, I really feel like that you guys, I really do feel like we're making better progress than maybe we've communicated to you very well. And because in my mind, our small group that's working hard of county commissioners and city councilors is planning to, get a footprint on several properties and then decide which one, was our best choice. And then at that point, start spending money on architectural, right now we haven't even decided for sure what land to start hiring an architect. So I really feel like they're making very good progress. And then it's what I had thought we would do is, at the city council level, is that those of us who are active in that committee would come back to the city council and say, hey, I mean, here are some real numbers, and we either vote it up or down, again, with our incredible stress on our own budget. So I don't know, and as far as like 5 or whatever, my goodness, I mean, we have the mayor who's serving on a regional homeless coalition group and has been for years with the mayor of Rapid City, and we have, Vernon Brown, who spent, I don't know, hundreds of hours probably by now working as a homeless advisory person. I mean, Councilor Anderson and Councilor Litz are on the site committee, with me, and I mean, I can get to 5 darn quickly. I mean, so I don't know. I feel like maybe I haven't communicated very well with my commissioner friends.
I think, what Carol brings forward is right. And then I think, if the committee comes back and says, we stepped up when we needed an architect for the facility out in Russell. And, I think that's probably the proposal to go when you find the site or multiple sites that you want to look at, that maybe we can work through that. But I think going back to the HAB board then is important. And then the HAB board will bring a recommendation back to the joint county-city to see where we go from there. Other questions, thoughts? Not. I see no one else coming forward. So at this time, is there a motion to adjourn from the city side?
I so move. Knutson.
Knutson moves second.
Second.
Let's second it. All in favor will vote yes. Those opposed, no.
Second. Then we have a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. And one more hand for those people out in the audience. Staff as well.